everybody. This is TJ Fowler for Skullbanger Media here in Helsinki, Finland with Thomas Youngblood of Kamelot. And he has taken the time to come here to Helsinki to do some press coverage for his new album, Haven.
That's right.
Yeah, Thomas, so how you doing?
Doing great, doing great. I just flew in from Berlin this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, we're doing press for the new album, and it's exciting. So far, like the reaction from the journalists has been really excellent. So we're very happy to be talking about it, and
sure,
it's gonna be fun.
Okay, great. Well, obviously Haven coming out in May, early May, I believe it is. Yeah. So what I wanted to touch on here, though, is got a little bit of a different concept. Silverthorn kind of touched on kind of a concept album.
Yeah, it was a full story-based album.
Yeah, and it was revolving around a girl named Jolie, her family, I think, all that stuff going on. Now, Haven comes out, and while I don't think it's concept in terms of it's centering on a certain individual or anything like that, but it's got a lot of contrasting themes, hope, but then also desperation. And can you elaborate on that a little bit, why you chose this path and just what inspired you to write it?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to make a record that was not a story, not a concept. But as we started working on it, we definitely felt that there was this theme going through it, this sort of theme of rebellion, revolution, because some of the topics that we touch on the record have a lot to do with what's happening today, whether it's technology or government,
sure,
those kind of things, and we wanted to kind of make a record that was balanced with all the human conditions, that you have, like sorrow and hope and pain and love, all these different things. And I think we were able to really accomplish that and make a record that's very diverse, which is one of the criteria I always have for Kamelot, is to have an album that is balanced with, tempos and emotions.
Sure. Okay, great. Now, this is your second album with your singer, Tommy. And my question was, sometimes, just depending on the band or whatever, when a new member comes in, the writing process is a little bit different, takes a little time to get a new album out just because of band chemistry, the way a new person may write, or whoever may, singer or anybody. This being the second album, and Tommy came in and handled songwriting responsibilities right from the get-go, I believe, on Silverthorn.
With lyrics and vocal melodies, he came in and crushed it, and with Haven, he was able to put a little bit more of his own stamp on certain things, also musical parts of the record. So he's definitely fully integrated into the whole process. And I think also now that we've been touring for like 3 years together, we are all very comfortable with offering ideas back and forth, and he's just, been really great kind of fresh injection into the band.
Sure.
For the new era that we have.
Okay, yeah. So did that help speed up the process for recording Haven this time around, as opposed to maybe Silverthorn a little bit, now that he's been in there a while?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but we still always put as much time as we have from the label in terms of deadlines.
Sure.
Then we push the deadlines. So we always, even if we feel like we're really done, we still take extra time to go through small little parts, and whether it's the music or the booklet, those kind of things.
Sure. Deadlines, new bands, don't worry about those.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about Tommy and his songwriting, as opposed to, like, say, your previous singers, Con or even Vanderbilt. How does he write as opposed to those other guys? Like, what's his strengths in regards to songwriting?
Well, I think he comes from maybe a slightly different background. But the melodies that we kind of have in Kamelot, a lot of times are dictated by the music that's underneath it. So the chord structures, for example, in Elysium, the chords are structured in a way that you can write any melody you want over it, but it really asks for a certain type of melody.
Sure.
That is, usually what makes Kamelot, these certain types of vocal melodies. And he understands that coming into a band that's already had a track record with songwriting style.
Okay.
And that's really cool too, with Oliver working with me now with writing songs, is that he understands the basic Kamelot kind of sound. And it's cool to have that sort of I don't know, way of working with these guys so that we're not changing the Kamelot sound, but we're bringing in fresh influences that every record I think needs. Sure,
great. And now, going back to the album in general, or as a whole, or however you want to look at it, but it is a new album after Silverthorn. What do you think is Haven's strongest aspect in regards, if you want to compare it to Silverthorn or really any of your albums? What do you think this album's strongest point is?
I think the way that we recorded it this time, we wanted it to be a little bit more in your face, a little bit more guitar oriented.
Sure.
The drums are kicking you in the head. You know, if you crank the album up, it's definitely has more of a kind of a punchy sound, especially with the mastering style from Jacob Hansen.
Sure.
And pretty much every song has really memorable, strong choruses, which I think is a really cool aspect of the album.
Great. So, what's your favorite track from the album? If you want to give anybody a heads up out there, what do you?
I like Veil of Elysium, Liar Liar, which has Alyssa from Arch Enemy. That song came out really amazing, I think. Insomnia is one of my favorites. It's got a really hooky chorus without being corny, you know.
Sure.
Which is always it's always a trick.
All you power metal bands got to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, there's a lot of modern metal influences coming into Kamelot now, and I think that's it's a great thing for us because it's something I've been wanting to do, bring in a little bit more modern elements.
Sure.
And with Haven, we were able to do that.
Great.
So yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, as just a fan that's a music fan or a metal fan out there, say they've never heard of Kamelot, or they see it on the shelf and say, hey, you know, that looks kind of cool, and they see Haven. What would you hope if they pick up the album and buy it? What do you hope that this listener will get from Haven when they hear it?
Well, first, that they experience something, you know, fresh and new, hopefully, from what they've normally listened to. Also, I think the diversity of, you know, not only Haven, but even former Kamelot records almost lends itself to all different kinds of music lovers. You know, we have fans at the shows that are a 14-year-old teenager, and then you have the 50-year-old Prog guy. You know, with the Rush t-shirt on. So there's a lot of variation in our music, and that comes from all our influences coming into it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's what I hope they would get from it.
Great. Okay, so, and this is something, it's a little bit off, I'm not on Haven exactly here, but I've always been kind of curious. You're kind of labeled as a power metal band, but you got progressive elements and stuff, but you're an American band, essentially. That's where you started. You know, power metal bands in America are a little bit more rare than what a European style power metal band is. And I've always listened to each side, and there's, while they cover similar themes, the sound is different. What in your mind separates Euro power metal from American power metal, or even Euro power metal from, say, Kamelot?
Well, I mean, a lot of times people think Kamelot is a European band. I think part of that is the original influences that we all had in the band coming from Europe, whether it was Maiden or Priest or classical music big time. And then we always record our records in Europe. And there's a certain kind of sound that comes out of Europe, whether it's from Germany or Finland.
Right.
But I think what kind of makes Kamelot different, at least in my opinion, the best is to ask the fan, but is that we mix symphonic with progressive and power, and then there's other stuff in there, you know, so that it's not just, I would never label Kamelot as just a power metal band or progressive, whatever. Yeah. So I like that fact that we're kind of hard to categorize.
Pigeonhole a little bit. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, now, and this is going to let you explain a little bit more here about your sound, maybe, if you haven't already. But I remember Kamelot. When I was a spree lad in college, you know. But it was I think the Fourth Legacy that had Shadow of Uther, and all that. You know, I got that one, and I think the album after that. Then I graduated and thought I got to be responsible, so I kind of lost track after a while. And coming back, I listened to you, and while you sound different, you also sound like Kamelot. Right. Someone could, if I hadn't heard anything since the Fourth Legacy, I would have known it was you. but your sound has also evolved. What in your mind do you think is the most evolved part of your band now in terms of sound or maturity or anything like that?
I think there's a few things. Sound is one of them, of course. I think the songwriting has changed a little bit. When I listen to the Fourth Legacy, it's still, I really like the record, I really do. But there's a lot of parts of it that maybe were, you know, kind of, I don't want to say immature. That's not the right word, but kind of not as mature. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
So I think our songwriting has matured.
Right.
The choruses and the subject matter has changed a lot.
I noticed that too.
Yeah,
like,
that's really important. That was really important for me because we didn't want to be a medieval band. We didn't want to
Dungeons
be
and Dragons band.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So it was important starting with like I think with Karma that we started talking about other things and not being a band about, you know, tales and things like that.
Okay.
Which is fine, but you know, if you just stick to that, you're never going to evolve, and your fan base will
stay
a certain way. And we really think that's important, even though the name is Kamelot. Yeah. But you have Imagine Dragons, and they're not playing medieval music either. So.
Well, sure. Okay. All right. Now, the big question now with a new album always is touring. All right, and you're here obviously to promote in Europe, and I got a question here, a fan question actually, about touring, but we'll get to that. But what are your immediate plans for touring right now here in Europe or anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, on Haven, it looks like the touring's going to be as intense as ever. I mean, on Silverthorn, we toured for like 2 years straight. But coming up, we have North America, which kicks off in Mexico. That's going to be in the middle of April, end of April. Then we tour through May.
Okay.
We're coming to Canada for some shows that we've never been to, like the western part of Canada.
Okay.
We have Dragon Force as special guest for that tour, which will be cool. Then we do some select Eastern Europe festivals in the summer.
Okay.
Then the fall, which will be September, October, we come back to Europe, which will be awesome. And there's a lot of new cities, especially here in Finland.
Wow.
We've added some cities in the north.
Oh, well, might be around where I'm.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see you there.
Yeah.
Then we go back to North America for a second leg in the late fall. Japan's probably going to be in January of 2016.
Sure.
South America will be in March, and then we'll come back to Europe again in April, and then all the big summer festivals next year.
Sure, great.
And then after that, we'll probably take a break, 2 weeks.
Pass out in the coma.
Yeah,
sure.
So yeah, it's a lot. It's exciting. The buzz and the feedback's been great, and so we're looking forward to touring.
Great. And that was one of the questions a fan from South America, and you just mentioned in March, I believe, Viviana is her name. She actually messaged me from one of the fan sites and was wondering about South America. So in March, specifically Chile, she said. I don't know if you got any Chile dates.
No. I mean, that's the time we're looking at is March.
Yeah.
Nothing has been confirmed yet.
Oh, okay.
But we've been going to South America in the last couple of releases, and it's growing there big time. I mean, the last show in Chile, which was phenomenal. So
yeah.
Hopefully we can add some more dates to what we normally do down there.
Okay, great. Okay, so I've kept you here. We're going to wrap it up, but I always ask this, since I'm from Tennessee, I try to ask this question of metal bands because I think it's kind of interesting. I do anyway. But being from Tennessee, Elvis is kind of big there, and he's kind of big everywhere.
He's kind of big there in Tennessee.
Yeah, he's just a little. And but you know, Tennessee's not a metal state. But I always like to ask metal bands if they were to cover a Elvis song, what would you cover?
Man, that's difficult. Jailhouse Rock would be kind of corny, you know.
a lot of metal bands do say Jailhouse Rock.
Maybe like a cool Kamelot style version of "Love Me Tender" would be cool.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
I could see that.
A lot of low vocals in there, and maybe some high ones.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do that.
Great. Well, Thomas, I'll get you out of here, or let you get to the next person you need to talk to, and everybody, Thomas Youngblood, metal name right there of Kamelot, and thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yeah.